That's why you hear all these influences in here. Sometimes Gershwin gets credit for writing the first fusion piece. Fusion, jazz, and classical, early 20th century. Darius Milhaud actually beat him to the punch a year early with the La Création du Monde. And Stravinsky, that's why you hear all the jazz. That's why you hear the tango at the end of the third movement. Ba, 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 da. The little dialogue with you guys, right? Stravinsky was aware of everything. They say, musicologists say, he wasn't influenced by anybody, but he was aware of everything. He writes this. This is the first of his neoclassical works, and they say that his theme and variations in the second movement is his first use of variation technique. But I've always been highly suspect of that because I don't trust the musicologists. All right? They're non-musicians who have advanced degrees in music, but you didn't hear me say that. All right, now, this is what Stravinsky says. Stravinsky says, the aim I sought in this auteur, remember, neoclassicism, the aim I sought in this auteur, which is also the aim I sought with the greatest energy in all of my recent works, The Soldier's Tale was what, 1919, something like that, 1918 or something? 19, yeah, okay. And then this. The aim I sought in this auteur, which is also the aim I sought with the greatest energy in all of my recent works, is to realize a musical composition through means which are emotive in themselves. These emotive means are manifested in the rendition by the heterogeneous play of movements and volumes. A musical composition constructed on that basis could not indeed admit the introduction of the element of interpretation in its execution without risking the complete loss of its meaning. To interpret a piece is to realize its portrait, and what I demand is a realization of the piece itself. What's Stravinsky coming out of? What's the world coming out of in the 1920s? Besides World War I. What's it coming out of? Every musical movement that you can name is a reaction to something, right? They're reacting to what a lot of people thought were the excesses of Romanticism, particularly the French Impressionists. What I demand is to interpret a piece is to realize its portrait. Think of Impressionistic paintings. Vague. In the first part of this essay, Stravinsky talks about the vagueness and the suppleness of winds and strings. What I demand is a realization of the piece itself, not its portrait. So, the jazzers say, read the ink. If a fly defecates on the page and leaves a black dot, you account for that dot. In other words, you play fly S, right? You don't interpret what Stravinsky says, but at its best, if you study the history of notation, notation is at its best symbols, which don't mean anything until we give them meaning. You're walking a real fine line with Stravinsky between interpreting what he said and reading fly poop, every dot, without interpreting. Think about that. It changes things. It makes the piece colder, more detached. It makes it less living and breathing and more of an etude, an exercise. The meaning and the emotion is supposed to be built in the stuff, not what we bring to it. All right? I just wanted to share that because that's what this is about. It's a reaction to all that stuff that happened in the late 19th century, moving across into the 20th. Right? There we go. Who's been giving, have you been tuning, or who's been sounding the pitch? Clarinet? Okay. Give him the pitch. And I've asked Dr. Zastoupil, if you look at the schedule, it looks like I'm supposed to do the last bunch of coachings. We're all going to do it. Brad, jump in if you want. John, we're going to, let's let them benefit from everyone that's in the room. All right?
Do we need to tune again?
Yeah, he's going to
Whomever,
he's going
yes.
to sound the pitch.
So for those of you that haven't seen me, my name's Luke Thomas Beringer. I'm from Austin, Texas. I have one piece of good news. It's not any longer that it's been 16 months since I've conducted, so I'm excited to do round two. All right, from the top, please. Sorry, can we start that one more time just from one, please?
Luke, why didn't that work?
I don't think I can give you an answer.
Okay. Man, you know what? You can get a doctoral degree at anywhere if you have that answer. That's great.
One, please.
One of the hardest things that we have to do, it's almost like watching our children go up, make mistakes, and you know that they're going to get their heart broken, but you kind of have to let them go. Oh my God, the worst experience of my life was watching my child learn how to walk. I mean, there was one day, she was bruised, she had goose egg, she had bruises under her eyes. She fell into the sliding glass door face first and just slid down it and squeaked. I looked at Katie and said, I'm out of here. I'm going to school. I've watched all this I can take. Right? Sometimes when an ensemble starts to struggle,
Yes, sir.
the worst thing we could do is try and save them.
Okay.
Conduct harder. What you want to do, and it's the hardest thing in the world, step back and let them play through adversity. An ensemble has to know what it feels like when something starts to rush before it actually rushes.
Yes, sir.
You have to know that feeling, you know that feeling that you got. It's like right before, once it starts to rush, it's too late. They have to know what it feels like right before it rushes, or when the time starts to break down. And every time a conductor says watch, we should be mandated by law to say listen about 15 times. And when you pull back, they don't have anything. It's like somebody going through a difficult time and they have nothing to lean on but their faith. You pull back, and they've got nothing but their ears to lean on. Go at one, and if it starts to tear, don't stop conducting, but just let them play through it. And I promise you, they'll play through it.
Yes, sir.
All right, go at one.
One, please.
And how many conductors are in this room? In this set, there are 9. And don't forget, Stravinsky wrote an octet, not a non-act. So you've got to figure out how to lead. Like, what was that old bumper sticker 100 years ago? The bumper sticker said, lead, follow, or get out of the way. You got to figure out when to do which, okay?
One again, please.
Good. 2 comments. A, you conduct this piece exactly like you conducted the other one, and these are 2 completely different pieces. So we need to develop your repertoire so they don't look the same. So that if we turned off the video, we wouldn't know, or we would know rather, that this is your Dvorak piece and this is your Stravinsky piece. And right now they look similar.
Okay.
So that's something to ponder,
Yes,
right?
sir.
See if you can make pieces look different. No music should look, this doesn't sound like Dvorak, nor should it look like Dvorak, okay? The whole thing we did a second ago about big beats big and small beats small, all your beats are the same size, which is why you're having the trouble. So I want you to experience this so that you can go, dude, it worked.
Okay. So then, I definitely want to do that measure then, so we'll do 1 again.
Yeah, let's go to 1.
Yes, sir.
So small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big inside the bar. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I
Okay,
understand.
just try it. And just all right hand. Even smaller. Make your 2/8 bars tiny. I mean tiny, tiny, tiny. Da-dee, boom! Bo-dee-da-da-dee-da-dee. It's easy for them to follow. And I promise you, they will love you more when they see that.
Yes, sir. 1 again, please.
Guarantee you. Big. 1, 2, big. Small. Big. Small. Small. Big. Big. Small. Big. Small. All this is small. Yeah, good. If you can master that, big beats big, small beats small. I know it sounds silly,
No,
but
I
in this,
totally subscribe
I'm
to that.
telling you, man, everybody will buy into that. It's too easy. And then you eliminate all of the other extra espressivo, and you get everything right to the stick, which is what Pierre Boulez would do, and he was pretty good at what he did.
Yes, sir.
So,
Would you like to start at maybe 4 and then we can go on?
sure, that'd be fine. And then I'll turn it back over to John.
4, please.
Right before you go on, I want to flip over a rock that John let us peek on a second ago, when he talked about style.
Yeah.
Conductors have, some old ones, and certainly young ones, there's a tendency to emulate conductors we admire, or have played under a lot, and there's a tendency to try and develop a personal style. When Jesse Jackson used to talk in rhyme, I loved when he'd go, "I submit to you, my brothers." Well, I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, that a conductor cannot afford to have a style, their own way of conducting. Because if a conductor has a style of their own, it's like what John said. The only difference between pieces is speed and intensity. Your style has to come from the music. You can't look like any conductor that you name. You have to look like Igor. You have to look like Stravinsky. Or you have to look like Dvorak. The style comes from the music. Otherwise, it sounds silly, but it becomes Cinderella slippery. You're superimposing or imposing your style on whatever piece of music that you're conducting. So that's something to think about. Choreographers get it. They have to get it. I bring choreographers in to work with my conductors all the time. I ask them, when you hear music, do you see movement? Well, how do you move from there? How do you go from there? And one of the best we've ever had says, when I hear music, I move my furniture all out of the way and I begin to move. His movement emanates from the music. You have a very distinct style. Start to become more of a chameleon. Your style comes from the music. All right? Would you like to go at 6 for a little while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And John, so please continue.
Since we have a couple minutes, why don't you go at 6, and why don't you rehearse something that you want to hear differently?
Rehearse them, okay? Yes, sir.
Let's switch modes for a second. Go rehearse.
Oh, I'm sorry. I messed up the meter on that page turn. That was my fault, guys. Can we do 7, please, for me? Okay. I think a lot of that was on me. Let's take it at 8, and can we just go? Yeah, can we take it at 8, and can we have a crisper, cleaner, and drier articulation throughout all the brass, and the winds? Can we have a firmer articulation as well?
And what are you going to do differently?
I think a big problem is that my 3s and my 2s are not idiomatic until I get to the next beat, so they get kind of flustered.
May I offer something that's even more macro?
Yes, sir.
If we go to Schenker, even like a higher level of structure,
Okay.
not a lower level, your even flow of time is hard for them to follow. So when you go in between beats, because your EFT isn't steady, they get tripped up, right? It's like
Okay.
it's like a wrench in the gears because the even flow of time is not always consistent.
Does it happen initially with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, every time.
Okay.
So you change something EFT-wise, and I know that because we can play this whole movement without a conductor, and it sounds great.
Sure.
Like, it's actually quite good. It's actually really good. So I know, because I know how well they play this, that it's always whoever's up here. It's almost never them right now.
Okay.
And if they do, we'll chuckle about it, you know, and we're like, oh, ha, that was funny. And then we'll go back and we'll go again.
Yes, sir.
Okay, try it again.
At 8.
Yeah, let me tell you, they are really trying to play what you are showing. But what's challenging is, and here's what I want you to do, because this is going to be on YouTube like right now, you know, and then it will be saved as soon as we're done. I want you to get in the car on the way to dinner. I want you to go straight to this spot, turn off the sound, and I want you to count tick, 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 and monitor your tempo. And you're going to see like, oh man, that even flow time is off. Like it does go all over the place.
Okay.
And once you realize that, and then you can feel it, you'll start to make the connection between the two, and it becomes more smooth. So the EFT thing is really important. In music like this, it has to be more just about what's on the page, right? This is not, you know, Beethoven 9, obviously, right? It's just
Yes, sir.
totally different. So,
And may I say one thing to you that Carell Cusa told me at his dining room table, studying music for Prague, and I was sight singing and conducting for him. He said, I built a metronome into every measure of that piece. You have to find it. Right? And when you're dialed into that metronome, meaning somebody's driving the bus in every measure of this piece, listen to them as strongly as you're hearing that ensemble that's in your head. And I promise you, it'll line up, right? One little technical thing, and John's really good at teaching technique, and if you have a better way of saying this, sometimes to emphasize a beat, you'll accelerate your hand and arm speed,
Yes, yes.
and then you slow it down. Your beats are more or less coming in time. If you could just sync up with the metronome that's in every measure. But you'll accelerate, then you freeze it, and then you accelerate back down into the beat. It really shows in the mixed meter, and that's why it starts to pull apart a little bit. You might have a better way of teaching that.
I think that's really good. That's really good. Aaron,
Consistent arm speed means everything.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
finding the
Thanks so much,
metronome.
man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luke.
Good job.
Hello. If I haven't worked with you yet, I'm Erin Keaton Howard. I'm from St. Louis, but I've been in Seattle, Washington for the last 7 or 8 years. I went to the University of Washington and loved it, so I stayed. I teach middle school and high school band and an adult community band at North Seattle College. Last time, octet. You're doing great. Really enjoying what's going on.
Listen, this is your experience. Is there a place you'd like to jump to? This is your experience. Where would you like to go?
I would love to do the beginning.
Very good.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you're getting to do what you came to do, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I love when John said that smile thing with the eyes. I just want your eye to smile. It's like, daggone.
Yep.
That kid saved my rear end. She
Yep.
could have planted that thing
Yep.
in the wrong spot. Way to go. John, we got your eye smile thing. Your ears should have been burning out there. Go ahead and do it again.
Okay.
You know this so well.
All right.
Elizabeth Green has those famous psychological conducting exercises in her book. You know, it's like, way to go. You count just like that. Now, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Rather than just have your left hand hanging out there, why don't you do the visual equivalent of going, directing all the attention to the tip of your stick? My dear friend and colleague Greg Eustace says, I said it to somebody when John said, it's like, I don't need to be inspired, I don't want to be educated, I just want a strobe light. And he calls it being sticky. Put it right, I mean a flashing light right at the tip of that stick.
Okay.
All right? Go again. And it's like, isn't it funny? John brought, we're all of us, we're more comfortable starting pieces with both hands up when we know the first thing we're going to do is, I don't know why that is. So what I'd suggest you do is you might just do this. You might keep that left hand like I do my coffee pot because I use it multiple times a day. You might just kind of do this. Basically, that's saying, ding, trill, yep, da, dee, da, dee, da. And the other thing I would do is I would make it personal. I'd put her eyeballs, my eyeballs in the same field of vision, and I'd put those hands right there. Don't make her go shop in 2 or 3 different places to get her groceries. Deliver it all right there. I would. It does a couple things. It makes it more personal and less scary.
Okay.
This piece isn't as hard as it looks. The great Don Ellis, the trumpet player, jazz trumpet player, he was doing with jazz what Stravinsky was doing with classical music, what Frank Zappa was doing with rock and roll. Mixed meters and all that, and they asked, with a lit cigarette dangling out of the corner of his mouth, they asked Don Ellis, they said, how do you do all that mixed meter? He goes, oh man, it's just 2s and 3s. At the end of the day, those 622 over 32 time signature looking things in Messiaen, at the end of the day, it's just 2s and 3s. It ain't hard. Stravinsky says it's the most natural thing. All right? Go ahead and do it. You're doing fine. And John, you can go from there. I think this is going to be good.
Whatever you think.
You tell me. Which one you? I'm gonna do both. So you go. You pick.
The fast thing.
Okay. So Stravinsky had a sharp pencil and a pointed nose. So everything needs to be really tight and crisp. Doesn't mean it's tight tension-wise, but the energy's got to get right out there. So it's mostly wrist all the time. And so your eyes will just look at somebody, bunk, bunk, and then you keep the wrist moving, but really crisp, like you're always touching a hot stove. That's the first thing. Second thing, can we do the exercise I did with everybody a second ago where they just count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 with you? We're all going to count 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3. Small beats small, big beats big. See if you can play around with it a little bit. Keep going. Sorry. Make your small beats even smaller. 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 There it is. Now we're talking.
Okay.
We're ding, 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 ding. It's so easy to follow. Do 6 and conduct it like that.
Okay.
Even though it's big, you don't have to conduct big.
Okay. 6, please.
Keep the energy. Ding, ding. Keep the energy going. No, sorry. I don't mean you to dial that part back.
Okay.
So that's a trick that you can use that. Like if you do anything that's asymmetrical ever, do it like that. Small beats small, big beats big. Okay, let's go back and do the thing at 1 and see if we can make that work with the same idea in mind.
Okay.
The difference here is instead of the tip leading, because it's song music, the tip's going to follow.
Okay.
You don't need your left hand at all.
Okay. 1.
Smaller on the 2s. No, small. Still small. Small. Big. Small. Here's a big one. Big. Another big one. 1, 2. Boom. Yeah, good. Good for you. It's kind of weird, but if you can do it that way, it's just so much easier for them to follow. I mean, you guys agree, right? I'm not just making this up. Like, it really is so much easier to follow that way. And the odd thing about Stravinsky is you just don't have to, you really don't need the left hand. Just put it away. I mean, my teacher, Mallory Thompson, just puts it to her side. She does this with hand here, hand down here, and everything is as tight out here as it can be. So that's what we're going for.
That's why I picked this tune, because I'm left-handed. So
Yeah.
this is like,
Hey, so is Andy back there.
yeah, it's fun, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so, but you're getting it. Like you're getting it quickly, and you're making that quick adjustment. But in music like this, this is where you just put the left hand away. You just don't need it, and you want to keep everything out here as much as you can. Why don't you pick another spot in the movement? So we have 2 minutes left. Pick a fun spot.
Nancy, I don't know how you all practice this, but you know what Frank Battisti had me do 100 years ago? He had me put the metronome on and never turn it off, and every group of 3, the click from the metronome became the backbeat. And the sound of that metronome was polarizing. It's like a magnet, it wants to draw you and get you up. And you're so grateful to get that next mixed meter because you're landing on the sound. If you can do that, they'll never lead you astray.
Okay.
That's a great way to practice. It's hard, but it is a great way to practice.
Pick
That's how I learned
your
the
favorite
solo
spot.
Let's go at 10, please. I'm gonna do that again.
Yeah, try again. Okay, good. Great. May I ask you, in your words, not mine, what do the players need the most? What do they need?
Just consistency.
Well, let's ask them. Kennedy, what do you need the most? In general, nothing. I don't need specifics. You know, like how to tune some notes, but in general, like what do you want to see the most?
Probably differentiating between like the big beats and little beats.
She's cheating. She's stealing my thing. Okay, I'm just kidding. Drew, what do you want? Yes, that's what I was hoping you would say. Good job. It's okay. Still love you too. Yeah, they just want to see where the downbeat is.
Okay.
Because the thing is, they just want to see where's the organization of the bar. Is this a 3/4? Is this a 2/4? Yep, we are in the right spot. Visually and orally, we're right, which makes them feel better. They're like, oh, thank you. Now, if they see a beat in the wrong place, it's like, like everything feels weird. They just want to know where are we in the measure, which is why it's so important that this is so clear in Boulezi, right? And nothing extra. Let's try again. Here's 10. I hate to say you're mapping it out for them, but it's kind of what you're doing because that's what they need. They need just downbeats. And it's fun because then you just get to listen. And you're like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Yeah, good. And thank you for cueing her in too. The ding dong 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 beep, because I mean it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's a 3/4 bar. It feels funny. Hey, great job on this. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
So the woodwinds are going away because we're moving to all brass now. So I thank our woodwinds that played for us.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Okay, if you guys would just move for a second, we're going to spray everything down and open up the setup, and then we'll set up for Gabrielle. All right, before we get started, I'm going to introduce some of our new folks that are here. Right here we have, this is Jackson Dampier. Oh, it's close. Jackson's a non-major, fantastic. Awesome. This is Robert Offit from Reedy Spring. Robert's a freshman. If you listen to the marching band show from last fall, he's one of the stringers. The marching band show, if you haven't heard it yet, go listen to it. Robert is great. Robert is great. Ben Hewison is a junior, senior. He's from Kansas. We also get jazz players from Kansas here too. Fantastic. Again, he's also one of the other stringers in the jazz or the Chicago area. We all know Peyton from the school. This is Michael Size. Michael's a junior from Ozark. He was one of our almost founding members of the youth wood ensemble. It's great. Michael and I worked together a long time, so we're happy to have Michael here. We know Drew. We have Callie over here. Callie's also a junior. Glendale, right? Glendale. You already met Jordan. And then this is Chris Kemp. Chris Kemp came to us from the little state to the west of us, from Bixby High School outside of Tulsa. He's a sophomore bass trombone player as well. So can we give these folks a round of applause? All right, we're gonna do a little Gabrielle. Can we tune Chris
John and I are both going to
Yeah, of course.
work with you.
All right, since none of you have met me yet, my name is Eric Schrantz. I graduated from MSU about 7 years ago, something like that. I now work I'm the band director at Marion C. Early, just north of town. I will start by thanking you all for your time in musicianship. I really appreciate the chance to work with, these great pedagogues in this situation, given everything that's happening. So thank you for being here. Just from the beginning of Gabrielli. Oh, real quick, high trumpets or high trumpets? Which high trumpets?
It goes in order, parts 1 through 10 all the way around.
Gotcha, okay, sorry. Thank you.
Stop there? I was waiting for a cadence, but
Yes, of course.
that's okay.
That's
All right. Players, the best conducting teachers I've always discovered are the ones on the backside of a stand. Speak to him. Speak to Eric. What would you say? Go first.
It was
One of
really
the-
slow, and it just tended to get slower and slower, and I don't know, the music didn't feel as fun because it was just not, like, it wasn't living as much as we did.
Yeah. I felt that.
Gabrielli is less a piece than it is an appliance. It's something you turn on and it runs for a period of time and then it stops.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
I mean, and again, there's no interpretation. You just play what's on the page. You flip it on at the right tempo and it plays until they run out of notes.
Yeah.
All right? That's number one. Why do you think it slowed down or did it just get heavy? The style got heavy, and eventually, if you get heavy enough, you slow down. Right? So you've got to keep the style light, but you're not going to do that by conducting higher and higher and subdividing more and bouncing more. Right from the very start, I like the way John teaches that, put your hand down and there. You started back here again, you started back here, and at some of the denser textures, rather than dig in, you got higher. When the texture's dense, you go. Also, you're subdividing without subdividing. You're really bouncy.
I flat my elbows.
Yeah, and you're not trying, you can't play the parts for them. It is not possible.
Right.
you can only create an environment where they can play the music. That's number one. And the more you subdivide, eventually it'll just get heavier, all right? What else would you say to him? We've got to keep it moving because at some point it's going to stop. You know what I mean? It's going to stop. All right, so that's, what else would you say? Speak to him. Be brutally honest. This is how we learn. He didn't come here to be told he's fantastic. He came here to leave and come get better. What would you, players, and I know Dr. Zastoupil will have something to say, and Brad's talking into the digital recorder. What would you players say? Say something.
Chris.
And be loud because we're with mask and everything. So.
To me, it all looks the same, and the style changes in some parts, and when I look up, I see the same sort of movement. Nothing really changes. It doesn't really describe how we are playing it and how we should be playing it. And yeah, I think that's it.
And when the low SATs answer the trumpets, meaning the trombones. No, when the trombones answer the trumpet, it's going to be ridiculously difficult for them to match the crispness of your style, right? It's going to sound a little bit longer. It can sound a little bit later. You want to know that ahead of time, so maybe you give them just a little bit more balance. And again, your left hand doesn't have to move. It just has to give a shape. If you want a little more bounce, you want a tighter articulation, maybe it looks like that. You don't have to move it. You show it. There's an article that you're probably too young to even remember, John. Miriam Tate was a mime artist, and she was really popular in the world of college band directing. She would show up at all sorts of conferences, and she would do mime with the conductors. There's an article that's basically the Arbin book of movement. It's like she gives you all these shapes. Do this with your left hand. How many ways your hands go, stop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like she'll have you say 3 or 4 different things with the same shape. That says one thing. That says something else. Follow what I'm saying? And so maybe if you want a little tighter articulation, you look at them. And that might be one time that the right hand comes back, the left hand goes, because that's saying the most important thing. Yes, absolutely.
From the top?
I think from the top's fine. I mean, remember, Gabrielli, once you establish the style, you just want to, one of my favorite scriptural admonitions is do not grow weary in well-doing. Once you establish the style, you just want to keep doing it. Second thing, and I listened to my retired colleague Tom Booth, 40 years in the Dallas Symphony, trumpet players say it many times. The deeper brass players play into a piece, any piece, they eventually lose the pop in the articulation. You want to stay on top of that. Because when the articulation starts to get lazy, not lazy because they're slovenly beasts, but lazy because they got other stuff to think about, it'll get heavy and it'll slow down. All right? So stay on top of it. Do not grow weary in well-doing. All right?
From the top?
Where did you learn this grip from?
I thought of like how I shape the music whenever I'm not using my baton, and how I still want to be able to do this with my hands.
Then you
And
just
so
put it away.
Yeah,
just put it away.
Oh, then just put it
Yeah,
away.
you just don't need it because
Okay.
it's not doing anything at that point.
Gotcha.
Because the point of the baton is to serve as an extra extension of what's happening here. And
Of
if you
this.
put it in here, it's not doing anything. And the
Okay.
players aren't watching because there's no heat out here at the tip of the stick.
Okay.
So just put it away. But we're going to use it.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if you are going to do this, you don't need it. But we're going to use it, so you're going to keep it.
Okay.
The other thing is the way you are adding in this double hitch thing all the way through, they're going to A, bury their heads, and B, the music is going to get slower, like they talked about. It could die a very slow, painful, agonizing death, which it already is. So go to the beginning again and see if you can keep these a little bit more staccato all the way through. By the way, these arrangements, there's a whole bunch of these. These are fantastic, the crease arrangements. They are unbelievable.
They have
Well, and the nice thing is that all the articulations are marked into the parts. So when we read this the first time, I go, just read exactly what you see. It's right, and it sounds like Gabrielli. So that's the nice thing of that thing. Okay, let's go beginning. Here we go. Yep. No double hitch. Make everything.
Eric, that the kind grip you were using at first is very effective when you're using your hand as a paintbrush. But what he just showed you, if you want to flash a blinking light, if you want to strobe light it, tip your stick, you want to do that.
Okay.
Here we go.
From the beginning.
Thank you. Can you do this with me? Just do this with me.
Am I hitching again?
Oh, big time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, big time. There. All right, beginning. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Don't worry about them. Just worry about me. Stay with me. That's the shaping that needs to be. And then, so I haven't said this yet today, but everybody else that's watching, this is something you could write down and remember. Articulation as a conductor happens from the wrist out. From the wrist back is phrasing. So from here back is phrasing, from here out is articulation. Watch, here's the beginning. And you guys could sound a little better if you want to. You see how this, if I stopped moving here, my arm is doing this. It's showing phrasing and shape and long line, but I'm keeping this going out here, which keeps the articulation going. So again, from here back is phrasing. From here forward is articulation. Does that make sense? So you have to divide and conquer here with the appendage. Okay. You guys see that? Okay, cool. All right, here we go. All right. Good. One other thing, when brass players play higher, do you want them thinking higher or thinking lower?
I want them, well, I guess between those two, lower.
Yeah, you want them thinking lower.
Yes.
If you conduct this higher and higher and higher, Jackson's mentally going to keep thinking higher, 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 and he's just going to keep fracking notes up there. Right? Which he doesn't usually do, actually. You know? And so I think when he sees you going up this way, his aural image is getting sharper and sharper and sharper.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
So bring it down here and encourage him to think lower, even though he's up here. We get to the end and they're like, do-da-da-da, 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 do-da-da-da. I mean, it's high. It's really high.
Yes, sir.
That double bounce thing, something like you're trying to show every note. You're like a pro conductor going glory to God. You can't conduct every syllable.
Okay.
All right? You've got to show the beat, not every note.
All right, here we go.
Ready?
Arm, phrasing, wrist out, articulation. Bounce, 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 bounce. Torso. Yeah. And if you want them to grow, use your torso to make the growth happen.
Yes.
But this is already better. Here's another way to think about this. Do you like basketball?
No.
You don't like basketball?
Of sports, I'm just.
Okay, but I mean, if I dribbled a basketball, you would know what I'm doing.
Oh, I get that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know. But that ball, if you would imagine what your baton looks like, the ball never stops moving, right? It's really fluid. I just touch the ball and it bounces off the ground again. That's how your baton should look. I used to use this analogy, metaphor, whatever it is, all the time. And then when I moved to Missouri, I'm like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. I call this the St. Louis Arch. Bum, 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 bum. And I'm like, hey, this makes a lot more sense when I live in Missouri. You know, because we're keeping even flow of time in between beats, but we're just bouncing from beat to beat. Dun, 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 dun. I'm showing articulation, but I'm showing fluidity of time in between beats. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Try that when you conduct this. Let's go to the beginning. So again, you can move your arm wherever you want, but just
yeah,
think arches wherever you go, St. Louis arches. Keep going. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. Look over. Boom, boom, boom. Bounce, 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 bounce. Torso. Good. I know. Good. I know we have to stop, but I want you to watch how you conducted this the first time and what it looks like just then.
Okay.
That's pretty different. Wouldn't you agree? And they're playing that really energized, and that was a simple change. And quite frankly, my man, I didn't think you'd make it that fast.
Okay.
Because that is a total change, and that's like asking them, hey, could you go play trumpet right now? You know, he could do it, but it's like it's not going to sound great. You know, you just made an enormous technical change that is fascinating to see. So congratulations. That was really
Thank
great.
you. I appreciate
You know,
it.
absolutely.
I keep a basketball in my office for that reason.
Oh, okay.
Because what you were doing the first time when John was saying you're dribbling the basketball, you would have been going,
Switch to Coach if you can.
watch, you'd been going instead of that, you'd be going. You'd be given an extra beat when it was on the ground. Now you're just doing what he calls the St. Louis arch. That's excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, I
Good
appreciate it.
teaching, John. See?
That's great. Really, really great. That was
Good job, Eric.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I came here for. Yeah, that's what I came here for. Thank you.
All right, so we need to introduce. We need that. Don, can we tune, please? And we'll go.
Hi, I'm Jesse. I teach K-12 music on the border of Kansas and Colorado, and I'm very thankful for you being here. No, I don't.
What don't you like?
I think I don't like the speed that I'm going or the ensemble is going.
You're just trying to find each other a little
Mhm.
bit. Like you're trying to find. What makes this particular piece challenging?
The staccato eighth notes, the speed, and the separation.
There's, yes, the alignment of all of this rhythmic activity
Mhm.
is tough,
Mhm.
right? It's just tough. So you have to allow them enough space to let that happen.
Okay.
So as much as you can, I want you to provide more breath in between beats to just let them fit all the notes in.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go again from the beginning. And don't be afraid to goose them a little bit. Let them play a little bit. I mean, this is a fun piece, man. I'm telling you, if you, just turn the dial up a little bit, like you're gonna get something fun.
Okay.
We're gonna be at Springfield Bruco, and you're like, man, that trombone's. But here's a tip. See this retard right here?
Mhm.
Subdivide right here.
Okay.
So it goes inka kaka inka kaka inka ka unka kaka kang.
Okay.
Dik ta 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 unka kaka kaka kang. Subdivide there.
Okay.
And then these chords, you just hammer them down like you're playing whack-a-mole at the, Incredible Pizza or something. Bam, bam, ba ba bam, ba 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 boom. Then you go on.
Okay.
Okay, let's go again in the beginning. Give us some more. What instrument do you play?
Horn.
Oh, good. Yeah, you are rushing just
Yeah,
barely
right
there.
there,
You
yeah.
feel okay? Good, just you noticed.
I felt it.
Good. Let's do it again. Let him play a little bit. Freeze. What voices do you hear the most in the last chord?
The trumpet trill.
The
And
very
the
last
sharp
chord.
note. Oh, the sharp note. Well, I want to hear the sharp note more. But I'm probably hearing.
Here's something. Be more obsessed about bass motion
Right.
and harmony.
Okay.
So you hit those big chords. Can you give me the last three chords? Last three. Just bang, bang, bang. I'm boom.
Mhm.
Right? I just want to hear. You do the last three. Just enjoy it for a second. I mean, seriously, I just did that because I just wanted to hear it. It's just fun. Just enjoy it. That's why we're doing this piece last. It's brass music. None of this foo-foo woodwind stuff. Let's just play.
And it's a three-note cell, right?
Mhm.
What he just conducted. Look at those 2 3-note cells that the trombones answer the trumpets.
Mhm.
Those can be a phrase too. They can go sports, 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 and then all of a sudden those 3 chords Johnny Z just conducted are that in augmentation. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. It's all a phrase.
Okay.
Let's go again. Beginning. Hit it. Here's the top. I just want you to drive home tomorrow and be like, man, that was so fun. You're just along for the ride. Ding, ding, ding. You ready for this? 2, 1. Yeah, and so you just subdivide there. You wait. Dee bum 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 bum
Okay.
bum 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 bum, and then you get to groove with the trombones.
Mhm.
Taco, do, gato, gung, 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 gung. You get a little hip action in there. It's fun.
B.
Sure.
B. B, please.
conducting the piece of John used a phrase earlier, I forget which conductor he was working with. He asked for more impulse of will. That's an Elizabeth Green term. Was that you?
No, it was not.
Okay. I'd like to see more, I would like to see you exert your will a little more, rather than accepting whatever's coming flying out. I mean, they're doing fine. John, I didn't know this piece. We'll play this on our March concert. This is a terrific piece of music. And those Meadows brass players, I mean, they're just going to love this and eat it up. This is a fantastic piece. But it won't play itself. It won't play itself. This is like taking a wash rag and you're trying to wring everything out of it that you can. If you get a little cell, you can turn into a phrase, you do it. Don't just accept whatever comes flying out and hitting you in the face. I think there needs to be more impulsive will. He needs to impose his will more on those players. And listen, guess what? There's no right, there's no wrong. You might feel this differently than I do, than John does. That's okay. Make decisions at the risk of them being quote unquote wrong. Pick a spot and let them know. Everybody, if he is Casper Milquetoast Bland, play it that way. But if he says, hey, I know how I want this to go, play it the way I want you to, then play it the way you want you to. Follow what I'm saying? Impulse of will. Go for it. Just pick a spot.
Can we please start at C?
And players, you sound good. Okay, when I was probably your age and a little older, I would go to every conducting workshop that I could get to. To ask one question: how do you know what to conduct? And the answer was always, Craig Kirchhoff, well, you conduct where it needs to be conducted. Well, thank you. I came all the way here for that. Then I went out to Greeley, Colorado, when Gene Corporon was there. Last session, Maestro Corporon, how do you know what to conduct? Well, you conduct whatever needs to be conducted. You really won't know until you get there. But I see you giving a lot of, this is one of these things to take home and ponder in your heart. I think the best conductors and the most effective are those that are very skilled at conducting, at any given moment in time, conducting a very limited amount of very specific information. Process that for a second. A limited amount of very specific information, as opposed to spitting out a vast amount of very generic, non-specific information. Solomon wrote in Proverbs, the more words we speak, the less they mean. So when you want to communicate something very specific, pick something. Like there, I'd probably go, if Rome wasn't falling apart around me, and it's not, I'd probably play that horn solo with this young man that we just came through. If he's doing fine and this accompanist's a little shaky, and they're starting to lose the pop in the articulation, I might dial into that. But we can't conduct everything. What's that Indian god? Is it Shiva? That thing that's got like 14 arms that go up in it? You don't have that. You got two appendages we want to see, all right? And you've got to like give your attention to certain things. You can't conduct it all. So make choices.
Okay.
Go back to that spot again and decide, okay, I'm going to leave him on his own. I'm going to go to these people. Or, these guys are fine. I'm going to play this piece with him. And you sound great, by the way.
C.
Specific information, not general, non-specific. those trombonophones are playing over there, I'd probably go right to this trumpet player, and I would enjoy that solo with him a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because the rest is working. All right? These trombones are pumping away. They're doing fine. I don't know how you teach it, John. I don't know how you teach it, Brad. But I like for conductors to be as specific as possible rather than trying to say too much and end up saying nothing. All right? It was like if you, I've never been to the Ozarks, but if you guys, somebody took me down there on a fall foliage tour with a bunch of old dudes and dudettes, and they drive me through a park, they can't point out everything. They got one pass through the park. They'll point out, they'll make sure that I see, man, I want to make sure he sees this and this. Well, if there's still daylight, you get to come back through the park and say, oh, I can show him this, this, and this. It's a guided listening tour through this piece. You're going to show us one thing, and if you get a chance, you show us a second or a third. But right now, I get the feeling you're going through the park going, look left, look right, look up, look down, look up. And we get through the park, and it's like, we didn't see anything. Specific. Michael, when you watch that video I told you to watch, and Michael Tilson Thomas is talking about Leonard Bernstein, Michael moves his hand down the score. He goes, Bernstein said, what are your priorities? What I don't see yet are your priorities.
Okay.
What you've decided at this moment in time is the most important thing to show me in that part. That's what I would say.
Jesse, we are out of time. Hey, great job.
Thank you.
Hey, this is our last one of the day. Goodness gracious. Tyler.
First time I took my kid to a musical on Broadway, she's just a little girl about 4 years old. She leans over, she goes, Daddy, I don't want this to ever end. I don't want this to end. Watching you all grow, watching that, watching what you did before our very eyes. I don't want this to ever end, all right? But you're last, and it's been a great day, so try not to suck.
You know, I probably will, but that's why I'm here. I know some of you, excited to be here. I'm Tyler Hamilton. I graduated from here about 3 years ago. I've been teaching in Aurora. This is my first year as director of bands there, and I'm excited to be here with you playing the Code CA. Beginning, please.
It's too, like, there's a note, there's a note, there's another one, here's one, and there's just no line to the opening.
Okay.
Reagan, there has to be line, there has to be direction.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not gonna borrow, I'm gonna flat out steal. John, I've never heard it said that style is shown from, I forgot, I think.
Phrasing back here, articulation forward.
And verbs. Articulation is shown from the wrist down or something, and style from the other two. I've never heard that. You can put that into play here.
Okay.
Because there are phrases hidden in here that you can't see. There's just those three isolated short lines. That's a phrase.
Right.
Then you get an augmentation later. Think about that the way John demonstrated for one of your other columns in the thing.
Let's go again, here we go.
Watch that finger thing. That's
whenever you tend to try to energize sound,
Yeah.
everything moves together. It's like your
Okay.
whole body, your arms lock up, you become completely fixed,
Okay.
and everything just goes this way. And it still feels very plodding to me. Do you guys feel that? It just feels plodding instead of just letting it go.
Okay.
Okay, let's go beginning. Here we go with me. I'm trying to think a line. I'm listening here. So, only reason I did that is I want you to see, I'm trying to think longer lines.
Okay.
And then when can I monitor and I get out of the way? And then when do I want to get involved a little bit more? And then when do I want to get out of the way? You go, beginning. Here we go.
Hardest thing in the world.
Use your wrist more than your shoulder.
Okay.
You went. Trumpets with me. Okay. Go again. Good. Another time. Yeah. Okay. Another time. Okay.
Yeah.
This articulation of the trombones, you might as well just poke Callie in the side with your baton. Just hurt. It's not telling them
Right.
anything.
Okay.
These are sforzato and they're short.
Okay.
Which is tick, 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 and not hurt, hurt, hurt.
Okay.
Beginning. Thank you. Something else. Sorry, Jack, I'll turn it over to you.
This is good.
When you release sound, everybody, this is going to be counterintuitive to what you usually do. Typically, when we release sound, we exhale. I would encourage you to do the opposite. Actually, inhale when you release sound. Watch this. Can you play the chord at the fermata? I'm going to take this off so you can see, okay? Here's the chord. I'm going to do it another way. Do you hear the difference?
Hear the difference?
It rings.
Right.
No one does it that way. Breathe in when you release sound. It's hard. You have to practice that. But you want to breathe in when you release the sound, and it just lifts it up.
It creates resonance in a dead hall even.
Yeah. This room, terrible. But when you play the right way and in tune and you resonate, it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
But it's easy to sound bad in here. We know that. We play in here all the time. But man, when we play in tune and we resonate sound, we're like, oh, the room resonated. Look at that. You know.
Yeah.
You've been in here enough.
Oh, very well.
Okay. Beginning. Do what I did. Do the chord, and I want you to release it the way you're doing it, and then release it again, and I want you to lift up and breathe it in.
Okay.
It's gonna feel weird, I promise.
Just the chord?
Just the
And
chord.
once it starts to bounce, you can do the Zastoupil St. Louis Arch.
Okay.
And just monitor, listen to him play, and be all over it if suddenly something doesn't sound the way you want it to.
Right. Okay.
Last chord. Breathe in on the release. Yeah, but you had a little
Yeah.
fancy thing. Don't
Okay.
do the fancy thing. Last chord. Because you know you can do it a couple ways. You can go, I'm going to do it 3 different ways. You ready?
Okay.
I want you to watch. Here we go. This is called conductor playtime. Another way. And. Another way. mean, the last two didn't resonate at all.
Right.
It just hurt and just suctioned in. But sometimes I went faster into the release, slower and then faster. And the first time was nice and just lifted and pulled in and breathing in. Okay,
Okay. I didn't breathe in.
But did you hear it ring a
Yes,
little
I
bit?
did.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now let's do that chord and go on. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. So you're still using all of your body when you
Okay.
turn this. And when Josh plays, just say, "Josh, dance with me."
Okay.
Just put your hand up like
Turn
Josh.
up the spotlight on him and
Put
let
your
him
music
play.
there.
Okay.
And when I thought, I really liked what John, when he was working with Beth, and he was having Beth place beats all over the place for variety. I think in general, you're a little low consistently.
Okay.
That causes this to be even more problematic. When you do we have a mechanic, when my kid was little, we had a mechanical Santa that we put outside, and he just went back and forth like this. And then went ho, ho, ho. All right?
Okay.
It's compounded by the fact that you're low. So sometimes be up,
Okay.
sometimes be down. You can show the texture of a piece by which vertical or horizontal plane you're on. I think in general, you tend to be a little high. In general, you tend to be a lot low.
Okay.
If you were wearing a shirt that said like Harvard across the front, not only would your SAT be higher, I would have you conduct kind of in that range, right there.
Okay.
Right? I'm kidding, obviously. You know what a starting point is for a conductor? It's like when I taught tennis lessons. That was my gig all through college. And you talk to my summer gig. You tell people baseline, center of the court, feet shoulder width apart, knees bent, but you don't play the match there.
Right.
That's where you start from and come back to. I just think that your start from and come back to is a little low.
Okay.
I just elevate a little bit, and then if you want to drop down, you can. If you want to come up some, like you can. That's okay. But I like that. That's what John was having you do. Just display speeds.
Okay.
When you give people something interesting to look at, bad grammar, but good music making, they'll pay attention.
Okay.
If they just sing the same thing all over again, the Santa ho, 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 they'll just say, okay, we can do this by ourselves and drop.
Right.
All right?
Okay.
Go again.
From the fermata, please.
Hey, Rick, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
I just like to see you. I'm so sorry I haven't had a chance to learn very many names. I'd just like to see you support your horn player a little bit more when
Okay.
he plays that solo.
Okay.
Just let him feel supported, that, man, I got you, man. I got your back. When he plays solo, let him know you got it. And enjoy this phenomenal trombone playing here. You guys sound terrific. You really, really do. Enjoy that. Play that with them. Sometimes I get the feeling, and I'm not playing, thank God, but sometimes I get the feeling that he just looks dreamily into space and kind of looks over your. Make it personal. Connect with them, eyeball to eyeball.
Okay.
I would. He grew a lot right in front of us. You know, fantastic, and I love this piece. I really, really do.
Tyler, thank you.
Fantastic. Good. Tyler, did you go to school here?
Yes.
So,
Was
conductor
he,
punch, we'll move
was
over
he
to the
here
other
when
room
you
and
were in
wrap
school?
up before we go to dinner.
Yeah. There you go. You,